Live from Arkansas's streaming news leader, this is THV 11 Morning News at 6.
Good Friday morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us back here on THV 11, streaming on your TV with THV 11 Plus. I am Hayden Balgavy. Karen is off on this Friday morning. Meteorologist Tracy Bean breaking down the fog. And look who's in the house.
We found her. King.
You made it.
I'm glad she found us.
I know. How's the fog on your commute?
So it's so weird because it's very dense and you're driving and then you can't see. And then all of a sudden it'll lift.
Yes, let me ask you.
Like around UAMS, it was fine
yeah.
on 6:30.
Yeah, it was
right around University
fine.
UAMS.
Yeah. So I just about missed when we were coming from Colonel Glenn to get on 6:30. I almost missed it because I couldn't see it.
Right.
And just happened to come upon, the transition there and was able to stop and kind of go
on
over there.
4:30 to 6:30.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Very, very foggy. And then once you get downtown, like around Chester, it gets really bad again. So it's weird how it's just kind of like these pockets. But on your morning commute, if you're about to leave, it may be different. It may have shifted a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely. I was jumping around on the traffic cameras, and some look fine. Normal everyday fog, if you will, and then others you can't hardly see a thing. So we'll go ahead and take a look, and I'll let you know what to expect. And Ashley now, of course, will be here all morning. And this is I Spy the Capitol.
Oh, there it is.
So that's what we're playing this morning. You can barely see it, but that fog is just kind of blanketing the city. But as Ashley was saying, if you look back here, not too bad. So we're still seeing some very patchy fog out there. That's going to be until 9 a.m. this morning. That visibility is going to be a quarter mile or less. So definitely expect delays and go a little bit slower. Low beams, again, extra space. This is where the areas that are impacted, central, eastern, and northeastern Arkansas for that dense fog advisory. And the fog tracker right now, the Little Rock Airport is around 2 miles, but like we were just saying, there are areas where you can't hardly see in front of you. So starting out around 46 this morning, so you might need a light jacket, but as we're heading into the afternoon, once we get this fog out of here, it's going to be a great day. I can't wait for it. It's going to be lots of sunshine, and Saturday's looking just as awesome. So Ashley, go ahead and give us an update on that foggy traffic this morning.
All right, Tracy, right now I just pulled up. You can usually see here on Interstate 30 the Little Rock outlet malls, but if you were looking at this, you'd have no idea what's going on. But this is right here at 30 and the 430 interchange at the outlet mall, which any typical morning you'd be able to see that in the background. So very, very foggy here. If you're coming in from Saline County, Alexander, you're traveling on 30 eastbound into Little Rock. Like I said, just very patchy. I'll go ahead and show you maybe another view. We were just talking about, I don't know, around UAMS. So this is what it looks like there. So it looks a lot better. But the closer you get to downtown, as you can see in the distance, you start hitting that fog again. So give yourself some extra time. Those low beams, slow down. That's what you need to do today. We're not seeing any slowdowns as of now. Not a lot of volume on the roads, which it is a Friday. So that will help us out a little bit because traffic is usually lighter on a Friday. But we'll check this again coming up in a few minutes.
Ashley, thank you. Today, Bill Clinton becomes the first former president in more than 50 years to testify before Congress. He is set to be deposed behind closed doors by members of the House Oversight Committee in its probe into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The deposition follows 6 hours of testimony from former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. CBS News correspondent Jared Hill has the latest.
Today, former President Bill Clinton takes the hot seat as House lawmakers probe for answers about the nature of his ties to late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. On Thursday,
it was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing.
His wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, spent nearly 6 hours behind closed doors with the House Oversight Committee, afterwards telling reporters the session was repetitive.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices.
While recently released Epstein files include pictures of and flight logs that show former President Clinton flew on Epstein's private plane, both Clintons have denied knowing about Epstein's crimes, and neither has been accused of any wrongdoing.
The number of times that she said, "I don't know, you'll have to ask my husband," was more than a dozen.
The Clinton depositions, the highest profile yet, as fallout from the release of the Epstein files has spread from academia to former royalty. Democrats on the panel are pushing to bring in another high-profile person.
We're demanding immediately that we ask President Trump to testify in front of our committee.
Committee Republicans responded that President Trump has already answered questions from the media. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Yesterday's deposition briefly paused after Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert leaked photos violating committee rules. GOP committee leaders say the session with former President Clinton is expected to run longer than yesterday's questioning of the former secretary, and they plan to release the transcripts as soon as possible. Well, today marks week 3 of the Department of Homeland Security shutdown and the last scheduled payday for thousands of workers. As the Senate returns with no vote planned, funding remains stalled for FEMA, TSA, and the Coast Guard. FEMA continues essential operations as its staff faces uncertainty regarding their pay, while some programs remain paused. TSA officers are set to miss their first paychecks today, raising concerns about growing strain on the workforce as this shutdown drags on. One TSA representative says she is concerned there is little urgency to reach a deal.
We're going to do our job. Why can't you guys get along and do your job? Talk to each other. At least start the conversation. We don't need a promise of a paycheck. We need a paycheck. We can't go to the bank with a promise.
Experts say the longer the shutdown continues, the greater the strain on both TSA and FEMA workforces. U.S. and Cuban officials are now working together after a deadly shootout off of the coast of Cuba involving a boat from Florida. Cuban authorities say the vessel opened fire on the Cuban border guard, prompting officers to return fire, killing 4 people and injuring 6 others. We're now learning at least 1 American is among the dead. Christian Benavidez reports.
Amid rising tensions between the U.S. and Cuba, new details are emerging following a deadly gunfight on a boat off the Caribbean nation's coast. A White House official confirmed to CBS News that a number of U.S. citizens and legal residents were on the vessel, including an American who died and another injured.
We're going to find out exactly what happened here, and then we'll respond accordingly.
A sheriff's report obtained by CBS News says the boat in question, a 24-foot Proline motorboat, was reportedly stolen on Wednesday. The owner told law enforcement he knew one of the men on board, who is believed to have taken it. According to Cuba's Ministry of the Interior, the Florida-registered boat was a nautical mile northeast of the El Pino Canal in Cayo Falcones when the Cuban border guard approached it for identification.
It is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that.
Cuban officials claim there were 10 armed men on board and that they opened fire first, injuring a Cuban commander. Cuba says its border guard returned fire, killing 4 men and injuring 6 others. They claim the men intended to carry out an infiltration for terrorist purposes, adding that the country has a right to defend itself.
The original story was that they were transporting, it was human, smuggling, and now that they're terrorists. So again, they're changing their story. We need to get to the bottom of it.
Cuban officials say assault rifles, homemade explosive devices, and bulletproof vests were seized. A U.S. official confirmed on Thursday that some of those who were on the boat have criminal records. Christian Benavidez, CBS News, Miami.
Back here at home, an effort to preserve local history moves forward with the reopening of the Jacksonville Historical Museum. After nearly 2 years closed, Lyda Feller, Jerry Sanders, and about 20 volunteers are reopening the museum in a new location. Visitors can explore exhibits on Jacksonville's founder, past city leaders, and notable residents who grew up in the community. Feller says she hopes families, especially children, discover something new about their hometown.
Whenever I was doing the family history of my own, I didn't do that until I was in my 40s. And I did not like history in school. And it wasn't until I did my own history that I learned to appreciate the history of the United States and where my family fit in with it. And I'm hoping that that will help other people to be able to, the other kids, to learn history and to broaden their education.
The museum opens Sunday free to the public and is now located at 201 West Main Street in Jacksonville. Arkansas is set to welcome Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to L3 Harris operations in East Camden today. The stop is part of his Arsenal of Freedom tour, focused on strengthening the defense industrial base, advancing military technology, speeding production, and reinforcing national security. Hegseth will be joined by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Senator Tom Cotton. The visit was rescheduled after winter weather forced him to postpone the trip last month. Also, a heads up for folks near the Pine Bluff Arsenal. You may hear some loud cannon fire tomorrow morning and afternoon. Officials say not to worry. The blasts are part of opening and closing ceremonies for the Whitehall High School Junior ROTC Raider competition, which takes place on the installation throughout the day. All right, let's check back in with Tracy. Hopefully some good weather for him near the Arsenal tomorrow for that event. Today, though, this morning, fog.
Yeah, fog. Yeah, tomorrow's looking good. Just a little heads up there. And today's even going to be great. We just got to get this fog out of here. But I have issued a weather impact alert until 9 a.m. this morning for dense fog, a quarter-mile or less visibility. And so expect delays on your commute to work and school this morning. We are certainly seeing that impact here. At Little Rock Airport, they're around 2 miles, but we do have a few areas that it's hard to even see in front of your car. So take your time as you are headed out this morning.
And traffic is looking pretty good so far, besides that fog that you just heard Tracy talking about. Right now we're looking at Interstate 630. This is the Baptist Hospital exit, and it's not looking too bad. You can see the fog there in the distance. Let's get a look at the live traffic map. No slowdowns, no accidents. We'll check this again coming up.